Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name is Kieran Devlin and today's session is the big UC update for Tango Networks. I am delighted to be joined by Lee Essex, SVP of Global Sales and Marketing at Tango Networks. Lee, thanks for joining us.
Kieran, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
But before we explore Tango as a business more broadly, let's dig into a little bit about yourself, Lee. Could you share a tiny bit about your professional background, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Like many of us, I've been in telecoms for probably too long now, over 2 decades. I started as a salesman, originally selling premise-based Panasonic, Toshiba, PBXs back in the day. It was around about the time where computer telephony integration, CTI, was starting to pick up pace. So I really got behind solution selling and solving problems for my customers. But that actually led me from a sales role into a product role. And I became the product manager for one of the leading providers in the UK for computer telephony integration for a number of years. And that took me on a bit of a journey as a product guy. So I really got to understand the nuts and bolts of a product and how to put a product together. But as we all do, I got pulled back to the dark side, back to sales. So I did full cycle. Things were changing. We were starting to see a move in the market from premise-based to cloud-based, and cloud-based really interested me. So I started to sell cloud-based solutions, still around telephony. A lot of it was call recording at the time, and I did that on an international basis, and kept going from there. I did a marketing degree many years ago, probably too long to mention. So marketing was always at my heart. And I've just developed since joining Tango. I joined Tango 7 years ago. That was in a new business development role. I was really out there looking for the next partnerships for Tango. And then ultimately, I got asked to take on the sales and marketing role on a global basis.
Grand. And moving on to Tango Networks specifically, before we dive into a bit more of the broader detail about the company, give us your best elevator pitch. How would you describe Tango Networks in a nutshell?
We're a platform provider. And the way I explain it is that we take the modern technologies and do something that's fundamentally been happening since the start of telecoms. We provide an endpoint that attaches to a UC platform. Now, the way we do that is quite innovative. If we talk about old school telecoms, which I come from, we used to do the last mile by copper. Then we went to fiber and digital. We just do the last mile by mobile now. So we operate a global mobile network, which allows us to put our SIMs out. We operate with tier 1 mobile carriers across the globe. But the key thing about it is our SIMs are fully integrated into cloud-based UC platforms.
And I guess diving into a bit more of the detail of you guys with the Tango Extend and the very unique and quite exciting solution you guys have. Can you please tell us a little bit about your company's history? You alluded to you've got its presence in the States, in the UK, but are there any other details geographically that you'd like to highlight? And also just the overall size and structure of the company.
We're a relatively small company. We're just over 50 people, based out of Texas in the US. The history of the company is that we used to sell solutions to mobile operators. So we understand how mobile operators work very well. But what we realized is that the landscape of the mobile industry was changing around about 10 years ago. So rather than looking to be a provider of services to mobile operators, which even back then was about connecting mobile networks to on-premise PBXs, large on-premise PBXs, we decided that the time was about right for us to become our own operator. So we're what's called a mobile virtual network operator, so an MVNO. The difference is we're referred to as a thick MVNO. Not the most pleasant term, but what that means is we operate our own global IMS core. So we operate a global network. And what we do is we just go into commercial relationships with operators across the world, and we use their cell towers, their wireless networks, their radio access network to get the signal from our SIM to our network. And that gives us a very unique opportunity Because we operate on a global basis, we're now operating in 16 countries across the world. So you can take our services in 16 countries and you can use them in what we call a home country. But to add to that, we've got another 23 countries where you can roam. So we've got a very large footprint where a subscriber to our service can roam without the fear of getting any mobile roaming charges. And in today's connected world, that's a really, really big thing. The unique thing about us is we've got 124 patents now that are wrapped around our technology. And those are the patents that allow us to scale so quickly. So we can add new countries in a matter of months. It doesn't take us years to add a new country. Within months, we can add a new country and we can keep expanding. So having that global presence for such a small company is really, really unique.
And what about the company culture itself? You've identified some really compelling, unique assets about the go-to-market strategy or the product. What do you love about Tango Networks, the business?
We're problem solvers. At our heart, we're problem solvers. We're engineers still. We're a sales-led company, but at the heart of it is a bunch of very clever guys trying to solve problems and push the boundaries. And the fact that we've got so many patents, as we say in the UK, registered to our name, it just demonstrates that we're always trying to find new, innovative ways to push the boundaries and make things better for our customers.
And I guess moving on to a bit more detail on the product side, how would you say you guys approach the market? And can you give detail about those market strategies and also the partner ecosystem you're building?
Yeah, we're purely an indirect business. We don't sell direct. We like to speak to our customers, and the way we've structured our business allows us to do that. But we sell through service providers, MSPs, large systems integrators. These are the guys that are taking large-scale UC platforms such as Microsoft Teams, Webex, Go to market, and we enable them to add our service to that. We also have a large footprint for standalone service providers, the guys who have probably got a BroadSoft platform or an Ericsson LG, or in some cases they've built their own platform out there. So it ranges from small, I'd say localized service providers in the UK, Europe, and the US, where they take our product to market, and they're perhaps servicing a niche area. We have one very successful provider in the US who focuses on the pest control market. Very unique market, but they're very, very successful, and it's very applicable for our product. So that's we're purely based, but the way we structure the business is that we have what I refer to as channel success directors, which are essentially sales guys and account managers who deal with our channel partners going to market. But we also have more technical customer success staff who like to have those end conversations with the customer to understand their pain points with our channel partners, and really get into that. What do they need to get a solution? So I think our approach is fairly standard. It's indirect in the market, but we do like to still keep our hand in with the customers to make sure we're getting the latest feedback, the latest updates, and we're pushing the boundaries for them. And
naturally, as you say, it's indirect selling you do, and you mentioned an example of a customer there with pest control, and I think that's really interesting, because just hearing you talk about the solution and reading about your solution, it does seem like it is this game changer for frontline workers. Is that generally your tech buyer persona, an ideal customer profile, or is it more holistic and there's lots of different industries and spaces you guys can really change the game with this solution?
There's certainly unique personas. Frontline workers is a perfect example. These are the workers that are on the periphery of a company. They're out there day to day dealing with customers, suppliers, and partners, and they need the latest communications. And they've got little choice when it comes to being mobile. A lot of our UC providers produce a mobile app, but for whatever reason or another, people are not that keen on using mobile apps. They do rely on very strong Wi-Fi or data signals. And when you're out and mobile in the field, you can't necessarily always get a strong data signal. So because we work on the native mobile network, the voice network, we always get a quality of service. So even if you're at the very edge of the service of a mobile network, you'll always be able to make and receive a call, and you'll get priority over data signal. So it lends itself to those folks that are out there, the frontline workers and those that are out on the field. But what we're increasingly seeing is that we're in a world that is mobile. There's no denying that. Everybody probably spends 18 to 20 hours of the day with their mobile phone within arm's reach of them. I heard a statistic on the radio yesterday that people pick up their phone incredibly 1,500 times a week for one thing or another. It's a ridiculous stat. But the fact is we rely on our mobiles. And so everybody there, the first thing they want to do is make and receive a call. They reach for the mobile phone. I sit behind my desk at home. I've got a desk phone, but if I want to make and receive a call, I actually pick up my mobile phone because it's more convenient. I've got my contacts in there. People have got it. So we're now starting to see that companies are getting rid of desk phones altogether and rolling out our service. And the fact that it can be added to an employee's own mobile is really appealing. It gives the employee, he only has to carry one device around them. Gone are the days when you have two devices, one for personal, one for work. The devices now are very, very well groomed at providing a separate persona, shall we say, a work persona and a personal persona. I have two very distinct separate lines on my phone, so when I want to make a work call, I pick the work line and it remembers that. But increasingly we've been getting pulled into deck replacement conversations as well. As large organizations move from perhaps a premise-based to a cloud-based UC, they have to look at what they're doing with their deck infrastructure. Large manufacturing plants, for example, they're looking at the mobile network. The introduction of private LTE, private 5G across these large campuses in manufacturing, education, means that organizations are now starting to look at mobile to close that gap. So I guess some very clear vertical sectors, frontline workers, field-based workers, but also holistically across that, anybody who needs to make and receive a call.
Which is absolutely everybody, right? Which is a really exciting development. I guess we've touched tangentially about Tango Extend and your guys' core products and services. Are there any other features or capabilities we've maybe not discussed that you'd really like to highlight as particularly compelling aspects to your guys' solutions?
I mean, the strength of our solution is that it uses the native mobile network. But the value we add is actually we bring the value of the underlying platform, the UC platform, within the reach of everybody. Organizations now are investing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even the millions of thousands of dollars and pounds in a unified communication solution. And they do that because of the features and benefits it brings. The ability to add on things like call recording for compliance, call reporting just for logging things. Increasingly AI, obviously we're going to talk about AI at some point. Organizations are looking to introduce these technologies and benefit from these technologies. So we literally, hence the name, extend those UC services and those core add-on services out to every person within the organization. So the benefit that we bring is we take the power of the UC platform and the power of the call recording, the power of the call reporting, the power of AI, and we enable everybody across the workforce to access it.
And what would you say a usual implementation strategy would look like with you guys, and how do you ensure ongoing support and customer success post-implementation? Now, obviously, you guys are more as indirect, it's with MSPs, but I'm just curious about what that typical implementation strategy and post-support might look like.
Implementation nowadays is really easy. eSIM was a game changer, and we were one of the pioneers in pushing eSIM out there. So traditionally, you thought about mobile services, you were sending out bits of plastic with increasingly little chips on them that were fairly fiddly. They were not good for the environment. You were having to ship these things out. eSIM now, one of our subscribers can scan a QR code, load the SIM onto their phone remotely. I don't know whether you've ever added an eSIM, but it takes 2 minutes. It's QR code. So we've got a very secure mechanism on onboarding for all of our subscribers, and that's controlled by the UC vendor. Typically, they will add a subscriber within the admin center of the UC. That will generate a QR code, and somehow that's passed out to the subscriber, and that can be via email, it can be via an application that sits within the network. First line, second line support is traditionally handled by the service provider themselves. These are the guys that are providing the core service. Essentially, we're another endpoint on that, so they're used to doing first and second line. Anything that's third line to do with the mobile network, they push up to us. So we've got a very well-established onboarding training program that gives us the support and the backing for all of our channel partners.
And moving on to mentioning channel partners and also customers, what topics are currently dominating your conversations with them both? What are they most curious or interested about, and what challenges are they currently facing?
Again, it's AI is the hot topic for everybody at the moment. Everybody's looking at how they can improve, the customer experience, their employee experience, their internal processes, their internal data gathering. So increasingly, enterprises are looking at how they can get that out. Again, to the frontline workers, there's a wealth of data out there within those conversations that the frontline workers are having that traditionally was really difficult to pull back to the core of the business. I mean, sure, you could do some call recording with some keyword searching and some keyword analytics, but now you've got AI that can pull all of that in, and it can look at that rich seam of data in real time. So now we've got organizations that are sending out field engineers that are having a conversation with a customer. And let's say it's an air conditioning or a boiler engineer. They're having a conversation with the customer. They're phoning back to the head office and saying, I need this part. But AI is grabbing that and it's placing the order for that part automatically. So it's already happening. And we can see patterns building up in these conversations. And again, AI can bring that forward. So as much as I like to go through a conversation without talking about AI, it's the big hot topic at the moment. And the fact that we can enable that for all of the employees is a really, really strong proposition.
Absolutely. I think we're, almost 3 years into the AI quote unquote revolution. I feel it's, everyone's a bit fed up of talking about it, but we're also starting to see those really tangible use cases to actually really enable better work taking place. So I think it's developed as a conversation into really interesting directions.
And it's I think it's so accessible now, and I think the individuals of all levels can start to access it, and they can see how it does bring benefits into their own individual lives. So when you multiply that out into a division or an organization or a region, it becomes really, really powerful.
Absolutely, there's that sort of measurable ROI now, which is interesting. I know we've touched on this question a bit over the course of the conversation, but what would you say are the main problems your technology solves for customers? And perhaps I'm very interested in this, but how would you say customers' needs have changed over the years? Is it the evolution of everybody is mobile now, or have there been some interesting nuances to that conversation that's directed your guys' strategy?
There's lots of small things that have come together, Kieran. I mean, everybody is mobile, as we said, mobile phone within arm's reach. So that's a key thing. Everybody looks to their mobile, they rely on their mobile. The change in the landscape from the MVNO, from a broader prospect, has allowed us to commercially bring what we do to market. If we go back 10 years, perhaps, mobile operators viewed MVNOs as perhaps, challenges to their business. But that landscape has changed, and they see that, niche, unique providers like ourselves actually enhance the service. The technology that's moved forward from the device manufacturers, the eSIM has really, really moved things forward. So I think bringing all of those things together has really driven this mobile first environment. And if you look at the market on a global scale, if I look towards Scandinavia and Northern Europe, they're 95% mobile first. So people don't have desk phones, they don't have clients. 95% in the people in the business environment use their mobile phone. And that is starting to perforate now across Western Europe and into the US. So I think it's a culmination and the perfect storm. And people are just getting to expect it now. Why can't this be on my mobile phone and be at my hands the way I'm used to using it, and it's convenient for me?
And I'm very excited about this question. How does your company approach innovation? You've mentioned about how yourself and the company at large, they love solving customer problems. Does that factor into how you approach innovation? Can you explain your process for gathering feedback and then also generating new ideas?
But this goes back to the way we've organised we organise ourselves. We have a part of our team which sits within operations that we've referred to as customer success, and these are the guys that will go out there and speak to the end customer in conjunction and with our channel partners. So we're very unique within that we like to have those conversations and feed it back. And when you've got a bunch of very clever engineers who like putting unique things together and driving new patent registrations, you've got a recipe there for success where a company likes to drive innovation. They like to find unique problems that nobody else has even looked at solving, and they like to deliver a solution for it. So all the time we're doing that, I think we've got an edge on the competition, and we'll keep pushing that business model forwards.
Fantastic. And one final question before I let you go, Lee. Looking through your guys' Tango Networks specific lens, what do you see as the biggest opportunity in the industry right now? Is it AI, or is there a lot more underrated aspects to focus on as well?
I think if we were talking about right now and probably the next 3 to 5 years, absolutely, it's AI. I don't think we've scratched the surface yet. We're talking about AI being used by individuals. We're talking about AI being used by corporations. I think we're very quickly going to get to AI being used on network levels. So I think that's really going to transform the way that we deliver our solutions. We have to look at this on a global basis because we're a global business delivering these services in so many countries. So I think the thing that still excites me, and probably for the next 5 years, is going to be AI. It's just down to that granular individual level, but then to an organization and a global level.
Perfect. Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today, but it's been a terrific session getting to know yourself and a bit more about Tango Networks, Lee. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for the conversation, Kieran. I've really enjoyed it.
And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share on social media, and we'll see you next time. I've been Kieran Devlin, who you see today. Thanks for watching.